All right, here we go. WrestleMania 30. Why don't you start it off?
Hey guys, this is Alex Sanders. I'm brother of Robin Sanders, or as you know him, Sanders Robin. We're going to do a video probably mostly surrounding CM Punk, the man, the myth, talk about him and how he walked out recently, what we think of that situation, and also, before we get into that though, I just want to plug, I have my YouTube channel. It's called Zander AJ. Instead of Sanders, it's Zander. It starts with a Z. And so, yeah, look out for that. I'll do a couple of videos on professional wrestling, but I also do videos on philosophy and just life in general, and what it means to be a young adult in today's world. So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to it. So yeah, just a quick plug for that YouTube channel. But yeah, why don't we get into it? We were actually just having a really good conversation about CM Punk. I saw a lot of interviews from him. Some of them were one from Wizard World a few months ago, and then also an interview that he had in his kitchen when someone from UFC was interviewing him. And you could just tell he just seemed tired, and he talked about how he was ready to be done, and he did not want to redo his contract when it was going to be up in July. But he just looked like he just wasn't passionate about the business anymore. So my take on it, him walking out, it was not only him not being given the ball to run in the top spot at WrestleMania. It's combination of that and him just feeling like, well, maybe he wants to do something else with his life now. That's kind of the vibe that I got from him in those interviews.
I'm kind of looking at it two different ways, but part of me wishes, part of me thinks like if you're going to go out, you might as well just go out, blazing. And, I do not see the point of you walking out right before WrestleMania 30. It's just weird, and something just doesn't add up to me. Like I said, I say if you feel like, if you're going to leave, you might as well just go down swinging. And just, fuck the writing team and just go all out. Obviously, a lot of people, even Mick Foley said, personally, I would love to see, some more of the shoot style Summer of Punk promos. That would have been awesome to see more of the shooting on Triple H, but this time we would have gotten it to that next level. So it sucks that we're not going to get that. But part of me is kind of disappointed. And part of me kind of feels like it's a big fuck you to the fans and it's a big fuck you to everyone that supported CM Punk. And part of me feels like this is like the most beautiful way you could set up the return and the heel turn. Everyone's been clamoring for a heel CM Punk and a face Daniel Bryan feud. That's what makes the most sense. That's what people wanted at WrestleMania. But what better way to do that than to sail out to Triple H and help Triple H defeat Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania? And then I feel like Triple H should, give up his spot to CM Punk. Then Punk wins the title in the main event, shocks everybody. I even remember Triple H saying that he wanted to pull out all stops this year. He wanted to pull out all stops on the way to WrestleMania. It can't just be bringing back Batista and having him in the Royal Rumble. There's got to be something bigger than that. So I felt like maybe this could be it. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it would be a grand plan. I think it would be really awesome to see. Dude, if that happened, I would love that. If somehow, let's say Daniel Bryan beats Triple H, and then Punk enters himself into the main event at the end, and it's like a fatal four-way. Or like you said, if Triple H beats Bryan, but then says, I'm not going to do it, someone else is going to, and then Punk comes out, and Punk is like Triple H's hand-picked guy. That would be really cool, and it would be like, wow, talk about ordering a pay-per-view and getting your money's worth. You get like a shocking thing like that to happen. But I don't see it happening just because I don't see something like that happen just because if you've listened to CM Punk over the last half a year, you could tell he's just not, his heart's not in it anymore.
Yeah, but he was saying the same shit before Money in the Bank 2011 though. Everyone was contemplating whether that was a work, and it seems like deja vu to me, this whole thing.
Yeah, I know. That was such a different time, though. He hadn't been given the ball yet. Yeah. He hadn't been given the ball to run with it. And then they gave it to him. They really did give him the ball to run with it. Excuse me. And so now he's reached that limit. He's reached the top spot in the business in his mind, and he should have been given the main event at WrestleMania. That was his goal. To him, that's all he had to do. That's all he had to do to say he did everything in the business was main event.
I kind of understand it. You're on the road with injuries. I mean, he's pretty much been going nonstop. When he did want to break, that's when his run really began. In 2011, everyone thought he'd maybe take some time off, but he didn't take any time off.
I know.
So that's the other thing. Yeah, like you say, it's his goal to main event WrestleMania. If it's not Batista taken away from him, it's The Rock. The Rock had 2 WrestleMania main events in a row, and then Batista's, out for 4 whole years, and then just comes back, and that top spot is reserved for him. So it's got to be deflating. It's just got to feel, hard work not being rewarded. That's one thing he said why he loved Ring of Honor at the time. He felt like everyone was being rewarded for all their hard work. So I think the combination of injuries, it's always a lot of different things. But I think, injuries and no light at the end of the tunnel, that's what creates that combination of, you just kind of giving up. It's just not worth the reward anymore. It's just not worth it. And that was his mindset, I guess. But to me, something just doesn't add up. I feel like with WrestleMania this year, they're going to be losing money. You're losing CM Punk and you're losing The Rock, and you're only gaining Batista. You're going to lose a lot of money, I feel. I know the whole thing is different now with the WWE buy rate, but I feel like the WWE needs to pull out all stops and just give Punk whatever he wants. To solidify him as like the top heel in the company. Because the other thing is they need a heel. Like, who's going to be the top heel for Danny Bryan to feud with? They don't have any plans of turning Cena heel. Brock Lesnar, maybe they could offer him more dates and give him more money. I think that's a possibility. Triple H is not going to be a full-time heel. So who is there really for Danny Bryan to feud with?
Triple H and Batista. It could be Batista's full-time. He's got a full-time schedule. So I could see Batista and Daniel Bryan feuding for a few months. And we're going in with the assumption that Daniel Bryan's going to come out on top.
And to me, that just feels too easy. I just feel like something is going to get fucked up. I mean, it'd be great to see, but it seems like every single year, no matter what, there's always something that they fuck Bryan over with.
Yeah.
And it'd be great to see, but it is kind of predictable. I don't see Triple H giving up that spot so easily without something screwy happening.
Yeah, no, I'm almost afraid. I have to be honest with you guys. I'm afraid of what's going to happen at WrestleMania. It's one of the reasons why I don't want to order it. Because if they do decide to do something where Bryan's not in the main event, and the crowd shits on the main event, because that's what's going to happen. Is if they do that, Bryan, they're going to shit on the main event.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to order it.
Yeah, and we talked about this with the pay-per-view buy rates with King of the Ring, and when Jericho won the Undisputed title, it seems like these pay-per-views that don't have a set main event don't do very well. Right. So with the WWE Network, you can't really measure this pay-per-view in terms of pay-per-view buy rates, but I don't think it'll do very well at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it might not. It might not, and I think it's part of it is just really a lack of decision. Some indecision on what to do.
A lot of bad judgment, yeah.
A lot of bad judgment going into the Royal Rumble. And Batista really, really...
It put a bad taste in people's mouths.
It really did. Pushing Batista so fast like that.
Yeah, I never got to talk about this, but I think it was just bad judgment. You could kind of gauge and get a feel. Like when Triple H was out with the injury in 2001, you could just feel it in the air. There was a huge demand to see him return, even though he's only gone for 8 months. But Batista's gone for 4 years. There was just nothing. There was no anticipation. I just felt like no one really wanted to see him come back. There was just no, I don't know. It was shocking to me. I can't believe he got that kind of treatment. It's kind of the only thing I think is reminiscent of it. It was be like Hulk Hogan winning the title at WrestleMania 9,
right? That
type of thing. I don't remember Austin or Michaels or anyone getting that type of. Maybe Shawn Michaels in the Elimination Chamber for the first time winning the belt, but this. But Batista's not those guys though. So it was very, very shocking to me.
I never looked at Batista that way myself. Yeah, I mean, Shawn Michaels came back and he won but that was so different, though.
The only thing I'm thinking is maybe they wanted a backlash. Maybe this whole Batista thing was to spark the Daniel Bryan backlash, and maybe this is what they wanted. Maybe this was planned all along.
No,
you don't think so?
No, because they would. Why would you want people to shit on the second biggest match of the year, which is the Royal Rumble? The Royal Rumble is really the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and the crowd completely crapped.
I don't see how they couldn't have seen it coming. I mean, even before TLC, the Raw before TLC, they were totally ignoring Orton and Cena and chanting Daniel Bryan's name. They totally crapped on that. So how could you not see it coming 45 days in advance? So I don't know. It's baffling to me.
I don't know how it works back there, but there are people there that Vince McMahon they get around the table, and they make a decision on, who they're going to push and who they're going to promote and who's going to be the biggest. They think, okay, we're going to predict this guy's going to be the biggest draw for us. And they hear the crowd chanting for Daniel Bryan, but they feel like, and I bet you this even goes through Triple H's mind, and Vince McMahon's mind, is they're going to cheer for Bryan no matter what. But in order to attract the casual fans, it's not Daniel Bryan's not going to be our guy to attract casual fans. But somebody like Batista could. Yeah. So let's put Batista in the main event. But our diehard fans love Bryan so much that they're going to crap on our match if we don't put him in that match. So now they're kind of giving us that. So WWE has always tried to do this. And, that WrestleMania 10 comparison is really good. They tried to push Lex Luger. They tried so hard to push him, but the truth was the fans were still cheering for Bret, and Bret was still having the best matches on the card at that time, along with Shawn Michaels. But Shawn Michaels wasn't quite there yet. Bret Hart was involved in that main event of WrestleMania 10. And then WrestleMania 20, that was a little different situation. Michaels and Triple H had their program, which was very successful and appealing. And then Chris Benoit comes along, and he had so much respect from the fans, from the diehard fans, that it was like, we're going to give him this. This is for the fans. Daniel Bryan being in the main event is for diehard fans, but it's for mainstream fans too. You can't, it's deafening, the way the crowd is reacting for him. It's amazing. And the fans have chosen him. They've chosen to be behind Daniel Bryan. And I think the fans would have chosen to be behind CM Punk as well, but they wanted to push Batista. They wanted to push a guy who they felt like is going to attract.
Well, I kind of understand. Batista's been out for so long. I think him winning the Rumble, if I could justify it any way, they probably want to get him ready for the big Brock Lesnar match. They want to get him ready. And not having him win the Rumble kind of just makes him feel like another guy. So I do understand it for the long term. Right. But the other thing is, I think they underestimated Daniel Bryan. I think they're kind of looking at some of these crowds like, oh, maybe that's just Daniel Bryan's hometown, or this is a smart mark crowd, so that's the only reason why they're behind Bryan. They don't want to accept that everyone's gotten behind them. Mm-hmm. Which is, things have changed. With Daniel Bryan, it used to be, depending on where they were, or, he was more over in certain cities than other cities. But now it's totally changed. And I don't think they've accepted that. And I think it's the kind of thing where he's under a microscope. Like, they're looking at the pay-per-view buy rates, they're looking at the ratings. They're waiting for any type of, this is kind of like with RVD, they're waiting for any type of excuse to pull the trigger and say, oh, fuck it. We're just gonna put you with Sheamus, which is what they were gonna do. Sure. Which would have been horseshit, man. Because, they would have had Daniel Bryan and Sheamus.
Would have been like a 10-minute
Would have been their third WrestleMania match. Right. And it would have, who knows what would have happened. That would have been a nightmare.
Ironically, that's actually Daniel Bryan, aside from like CM Punk and maybe, some other guys he's fought in Japan. Sheamus is like his favorite person to wrestle in WWE. He said that in an interview. Is actually,
oh, really?
Yeah, because they hit each other really hard and they really go at each other. So it's kind of ironic.
I wouldn't have mind seeing it. The problem with that is you were 0 for 2. You just don't know if you're going to they were going to let them wrestle.
Right.
So that would have sucked. But but besides that, the rest of the WrestleMania card, I envision it being a lot more stacked. Not having CM Punk and not having The Rock is definitely going to hurt the buy rate. So I don't know. I think Cena and Bray Wyatt. To me, it's kind of a waste of Cena on the pay-per-view. I'm just not a big Bray Wyatt fan, but I could understand why some people. He definitely has the it factor. I just think it's too soon. I would have liked to see Cena utilized in more of a high-profile match. If you're going to put him in the ring with Bray Wyatt, I just thought there's other guys like Claudio Castagnoli or Seth Rollins that would have been better options. And I think Undertaker and Lesnar, it's very, very simple. safe booking. I think it could have been a lot more creative, especially based on the fact that Brock has never lost to The Undertaker. They never brought that up. And they do have a big history, going back to the UFC fight and going back to, Taker being very upset when Brock walked out on him. So I feel like that could have been so much more. And to me, it's just a waste of a match. Lesnar's not going to go over Taker considering the bad blood. So I don't know. I'm not really excited about it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a good match, and I'm sure Brock Lesnar's going to get, very physical. He always gets incredibly physical. And Undertaker gets incredibly physical, too, because he only wrestles once a year. So
he knows how to prepare for Lesnar, though.
Yeah.
If you look at those Hell in the Cell matches that they had, you could tell Undertaker upped his training to keep up with him, and he did a good job. So
it's funny, because there's so many possibilities for WrestleMania. There's so much great talent in the WWE right now. But I agree with you, dude, that it's kind of a disappointing card. Bray Wyatt and Cena, I'm okay with that, because I think it's going to be great for Bray Wyatt. And I think that, I think it's great that one of your new talented guys, by the way, Bray Wyatt is also very unique, and he's got a great character. I think it's great that he's in a high-profile match. I would have had someone like Dolph Ziggler in a high-profile match. And I would have put the Shield in a much better match.
Yeah, their match is disappointing.
That match versus the New Age Outlaws and Kane, who came up with that?
Yeah, everyone kept talking about a triple threat match with all the guys in the Shield, but it seems like that kind of went out the window.
I mean, it would have been cool because they, maybe they're still together, maybe they're not still together. Yeah. That actually, I would have been okay with.
Yeah, to me, I would have just saved the Shield and the Wyatts for WrestleMania. I think that would have been the better way to go. Yeah. Also, I'm disappointed Jericho didn't come back. I thought Jericho Triple H was something that they could have built for with all the, the shoot reality stuff that was going on. But, I'm cool with Bryan and Triple H. And, maybe this is just Punk giving Bryan the assist. Punk walking out definitely opened the door for Bryan. And it gave the WWE more of a sense of urgency to get off their ass and, give us what we wanted. But still, it's still kind of a clusterfuck how, the main event, it hasn't really had good build to it. There's been no tension between Orton and Batista. And it's a question mark. You still don't know what you're going to get.
All the tension is surrounding Triple H and everybody else holding Bryan back and feeling like Bryan doesn't deserve to be in that spot. And so in a way, if Triple H is this giant heel, which that's what he wants to be, he's the most hated wrestler in history, him beating Bryan, the possibility of him keeping Bryan from the main event is what our biggest fear. So this is perfect. I mean, the Triple H Bryan thing is actually perfect. I mean, and then if he beats Triple H, he gets into the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, it's perfect. It's kind of a clusterfuck that it had to happen all in the same night, because then you can't just promote one match. Yeah.
It kind of does go together because Batista and Orton, they're like Triple H's children in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the dad that's starting his son when his son doesn't deserve to start. That type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very similar to that.
It really does feel that way.
So that kind of adds to the tension. I agree. Even though Orton and Batista, they've kind of, to me, I just feel like nothing. I don't even feel like Orton's the champion. When they come out, I just don't feel anything. I feel like they're just there.
Right, exactly.
But listen, let me just say this: Punk walking out. To me, it definitely sets him up for the heel turn, though. You got all these people saying, fuck CM Punk. If he wants to leave, let him leave. He's a baby. So this perfectly sets up the heel turn.
That's true.
Even though, you still have people chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. But I think that's the way to go. I feel like, WrestleMania would suck because you have Punk screwing Bryan over. Triple H giving up his spot to Punk. Hopefully you see Punk win the title in the main event. That would kind of suck for the Bryan fans. But to me, that sets the stage for the rest of the year. You have Punk as a heel, and then you have Bryan as the face. So your build for WrestleMania is set in stone. So that would be awesome. But it does kill. Everyone that wanted to see Daniel Bryan have his moment, you'd be disappointed. But why don't you talk about your Hogan thing?
Oh well, the other possibility was that I think that Triple H might actually beat Bryan in a really unfair way. I think he might find a way to screw Bryan in that first match. And then, obviously the crowd is going to be fucking pissed, so what they might do is Hogan might come out and say, no, brother, and, make it a fatal four-way instead of a triple threat. Because they've almost kind of booked it or billed it as a fatal four-way in a way. If you look at the promo ads, like it almost is being billed as a fatal four-way.
And definitely, yeah.
And even if Triple H loses, I think he's going to be involved in that main event in some way. So that's actually I see it becoming a fatal four-way somehow.
And Bryan and Triple H, you think it's going to open up the show or go right before the main event?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it should go right before. I think in a way, like if Bryan was going to win, let's say Bryan wins the entire night, he wins the championship, right? I think it would make it would be even cooler if he came out, he beat Triple H by the skin of his teeth, and then had to fight Batista or just really stack the odds against Bryan, But if Triple H wins, I'd say maybe put it in the beginning of the match, and they were going to do that sort of thing where Bryan gets screwed. I can see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. Bryan getting screwed in that main event, but then somehow, because Hogan's the host of WrestleMania, what's he supposed to do? Juggle or make cupcakes for the fans? I mean, like he's got to do something. What's his role at this WrestleMania? As a host of WrestleMania, brother. What's he going to do?
Right. He's got, no. It's a great point. That's what's going to happen. I can't not see that happen, to be honest with you.
I think Hogan's going to have something to do with that dynamic. Yeah. He's going to play a role in one of the matches, and let's hope to God it doesn't involve him dropping the leg and winning the title for the nth time, brother.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think some really cool things can happen. I think the whole Punk question mark really kind of gets me excited for what could potentially happen. I think he it's something I could see him doing, and it's the only thing that could top that some of the stuff he did in the summer of Punk. And if he does come back, he's really played it. They played this thing out amazingly. If this is somehow ends up being a real type of thing.
Well, yeah, I don't think it'll happen. If it does, I think you're right. It would be the greatest way to turn heel and then end your career the same way he ended in Ring of Honor, as kind of like that heel corporate champion. But he's, no matter what, he's done in July. He's and I'm sorry to he said, Mick Foley even said this, when he's done, he's done. I don't think he's.
Yeah, but you remember how much he was saying the same shit in 2011. So yeah, you can't buy anything. He's very, very good at playing people over. So I wouldn't look too much into it. But in retrospect, the final take on this thing, I just think for this WrestleMania, if things were going to go the way it was going to go. If we knew Punk was going to walk out, I think the right decision would have been to give Cena the belt and to have Cena defend against Daniel Bryan in the main event. What do you think? Do you think that would have been the better decision? Or are you happy things turned out the way they did? I don't know.
The way they turned out it's almost perfect, because it's almost like the fans are cheering for Daniel Bryan more than ever, because, the fact that they were going to not give him the ball to run with it, that they said we're going with Batista. We're not going with Bryan. Bryan's not he's not our guy, which they really did say that. It's not just in the storyline. There's actually someone back there going, this isn't the guy.
Right, it was supposed to be Bryan and Sheamus. Yeah.
Right, yeah, right.
All right.
That I think that made the fans even more angry. And I have last video I did on my channel, the Yes Movement, I talked about the fans' autonomy, their ability to choose in this era who they really want to be the guy. It's not John Cena, it's not Batista. Right now, it's Daniel Bryan. And in a way, this is perfect.
And Punk walking out just gave all the fans all the ammunition. It was kind of like, Punk walked out. It's like, what the fuck? Batista won the Rumble.
Yeah.
It's like if Punk didn't walk out, I don't think the backlash would have been as huge.
Maybe.
But who knows? You look back at the Rumble, those fans are pissed. I felt bad for Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Oh, I know. How do we turn someone like Rey Mysterio heel? Yeah. Figured it out.
Final thing. What about Randy Orton? Just why don't you just explain what you were telling me? 'Cause it just seems to me like he's just gotten continually worse. You know, I talked about 2004, how he had a great year and a great run, and he's just kind of declined since then.
I don't think he, as a wrestler, has gotten worse. I disagree with you that I think as a wrestler, he's always been solid. He's always been very good. Maybe he stopped getting better, but I still think his matches are solid matches.
The problem is just no one gives a fuck, and they shit on him before they even give him a chance.
His character is stale. He has no character anymore. He's stale.
It's just more about the character. Yeah.
He's just stale. No, in the writing in WWE is extremely stale right now.
He's had so many bad matches though since this title reign. Even the matches with Bryan weren't even that great. So. I even said that after the last time he main evented WrestleMania, you can't put Orton in the main event again because it might come off that flat. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I think this will be a good main event though if Bryan gets in.
It's a little unpredictable. It's not easy to predict. I think that's the best thing about it is even talking about it, I have my fears. I don't even want to order. I don't want to look at it because it could be a train wreck.
Yeah, I mean I see definitely see there being a fatal 4-way. The only question mark is can Triple H wrestle 2 matches in the same night and for them to be both quality matches? And you're also a little bit skeptical about the time. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of rooting. I'm not just rooting for people to win. I'm rooting for a great show. So you want to see quality too. Right. So I'm just not sure how quality it will be if Triple H is going to wrestle back to back. So I don't know if I see that happening. But I like the Punk idea. WrestleMania would suck. For Bryan not to have his moment. I understand that, but I love the idea of Punk winning the title and turning heel and just setting the stage for the rest of the year. I think that'd be friggin' awesome, but we'll see.
We'll see. It'll be very interesting. I don't know if I'm going to order it because I'm afraid of what's going to happen.
That's pretty expensive, $70.
It is expensive too, and I don't think I want to get.
Well, you only get to live once, and you made it to WrestleMania, so you might as well just order it, man.
I ordered Battleground, so I should probably.
Yeah, man, you ordered Battleground, the fucking Big Show coming out and ruining the main event.
I thought Bryan was going to win the title, so that was a waste of money. So I guess you're right. Maybe I will order WrestleMania.